it's really difficult to think about just one special teacher, but as I was recalling, I could remember three, and I can do this without taking too much time. But my second grade teacher, Mrs. Thomas, was a very tall, stately woman, and she came to our school, which was located in the inner city in Newark, New Jersey, as I grew up as a little girl. And I knew just by looking at Mrs. Thomas that she didn't live in Newark. She actually lived outside of Newark because she was so beautiful and she dressed so differently than most of the women in my community. But Mrs. Thomas set very high expectations for all of the children in the class, every single one of us. It was probably 30 some odd students in that class at Robert Treat Elementary, but Mrs. Thomas made us all feel very, very special and very, very smart. And because of that, we were great students with Mrs. Thomas, even those who tended to misbehave. And I remember a few of those names, but I won't mention them right now. But Mrs. Thomas made every single one of us feel very, very special and encouraged us to do our best work all of the time. So when I always think back now, even at my age, I can always watch and remember, I can see her in my mind. I can see Miss Thomas walking around the classroom, giving us directions, touching us on our shoulders, making us feel very, very good about who we were as individuals and who we were as very smart students. And that helped me throughout my life. The second person is someone who is dear to my heart, and that's my mother. As I noted earlier, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, and in tenement apartments is where I lived in a community. And my mom worked every single day as a domestic, cleaning houses for the Jewish families outside of Newark. And when she came home every day, my mom made it her business to sit down in the same chair and call me to her lap. And I sat on her lap and she would read these stories to me. And over time, I learned to read on my own, and I would read back to her, and then she would draw pictures and I would draw pictures for her. But she continued to do this. I guess I was third grade. And my mom was reading to me from the time I was a little girl up until the time I was about that old as a kid. And my brothers and sisters teased me that I was still sitting in my mama's lap. But my mother did this for me to help me, first of all, to learn how to love reading and to embrace my own gifts as a reader and as an artist. And it really helped me throughout my life. Today, my mother is one of my greatest supporters. She is my biggest fan. I always have to report to her when I travel, when I do work. I have to give her copies of agendas and copies of materials that she can read so that she can keep up with her gifted daughter. And it really encourages me in my day-to-day life. And then finally, one of my other great teachers is from my years as a graduate student at William & Mary, and that just has to be the great Joyce Van Tassel Baska. Joyce, I met Joyce when I was I was still working in one of the rural school districts here in Virginia. And Joyce encouraged me in a way that I had not been encouraged before to go into grad school and to come into a program that was brand new at the university. And this was a program for persons interested in gifted education. And I was so pleased that she saw something in me that suggested to her that I could be a grad student. I was a full-time mom, I was working full-time, and she said, "You can do this, Joy, you can do this. It will make all the difference in your career and in your life." And so throughout the master's program and into the doctoral program, Joyce was my mentor, my advisor. And one thing that she did for me that most people, I don't recall other professors doing for me, Joyce critically examined my work. She critically judged me. She said when things weren't right, when I wasn't doing my best work, when I needed to repeat something, when I needed to rewrite, when I needed to restate Joyce was my critical examiner, and it made a big difference for me as I continued in my career. So those are the three ladies who were so important to me, and I'm just excited to be able to share this today.